My name is Melanie Chen, I'm 38, and I'm a divorce lawyer. My job is helping people end their marriages, splitting assets, fighting for custody, tearing up prenups. 10 years, over 400 cases, not one couple parted on good teams. Not one. My own marriage wasn't either, so I know. 10 years ago, I married Jack Harrison. He said he was a startup founder worth millions. He said he lived in Beverly Hills, drove a Porsche. He said he'd been married once before, no kids. I believed him.
Not because I was stupid, because I loved him. When you love someone, you believe every word they say. Not because you don't have doubts, because you don't want to. Doubt is for strangers, not for the person you love.
He parked his car outside my apartment. He said it was a rental because his was in the shop. He handed me his business card, Harrison Capital it read. He showed me his bank statements, 6-figure balances. His fingers were slender, no mark from a wedding ring. His smile was faint, but it was gentle. I told him I was a nurse, at the downtown hospital, emergency room. He said he admired me, that nurses were angels. His eyes lit up, just a flash, brief, but I remembered it. On our wedding day, he didn't invite any family. He said his parents were both gone. He said he was an only child. He said he had no friends, just business associates. I didn't believe him, but I didn't ask. Because I hadn't invited anyone either. My parents were gone, too. My siblings were abroad. We got married at City Hall, just the two of us. He was dressed in a black suit while I wore a white dress. The priest asked if he would. He replied that he was willing. He put the ring on my finger. They were silver, plain, unengraved. We hugged, his chin on my shoulder, my eyes went wet. Back then I didn't thank you for marrying me wasn't thanks for marrying him, but thanks for marrying the fake version of him. And I didn't know my I do wasn't a promise to be his wife, it was a promise to be the wife of a fake. We were both lying, we both tried so hard, we were both exhausted. In our first year of marriage we rented a house in Beverly Hills. He said he'd bought it, he said he paid cash. His checkbook had his name on it, his card was black, his wallet blazed with hotel loyalty cards. He left every morning for the office, he came back every night saying he'd closed a big deal. When he was out I'd go through his drawers, not looking for evidence but for love. There was a photo in his drawer. Him with a group of people. He stood in the middle, smiling the widest. I looked them up, they were all fake, not fake people, fake identities. Their names didn't exist on, and I never saw their faces again. I sat on the floor in front of that drawer and turned the photo over. Nothing on the back, blank. Blank was worse than words, because blank meant those people left no trace. They were just props, backdrops on a stage. His life was a performance. I worked nights at the hospital. He said he felt bad for me, told me not to work so hard. I said I loved my job. He stopped pushing. He didn't know I wasn't a nurse. I just bought a nurse's license template online and forged it. I'd never been to nursing school, never interned. Every day I'd leave in my nurse's uniform, change in the car and spend the day at the library. At night I'd change back into the uniform and go home. I had a regular seat at the library, by the window, sunlight falling on the pages. I sat there pretending to read nursing textbooks but I was reading law documents. My law license was real, but I was afraid to let him see it. He did the same. He'd leave in a suit, change into sweds in the car and spend his day at a cafe. He couldn't let me know either. His cafe was on the west side, mine was on the east. We drove home in opposite directions, careful not to run into each other, neither of us realizing we were both doing the exact same thing. We both thought we were the only liar. That first year, we got along fine. We pretended to be in love, pretended to trust, pretended each other's lies were true. We were good actors, so good that sometimes we believed it ourselves. Once, he came home late with a bouquet, said a client had given it to him. I took them, smelled them, said they were lovely. They were fake, plastic. He put them in a vase on the dining table. They stayed there for a year. We didn't throw them out, because then there'd be nothing to look at. Fake flowers were better than an empty vase. The second year, I started to doubt, not because of his slip-ups, because of my own guilt. I lied to him every day and I felt like a monster. I wanted to tell him the truth, but I was scared he wouldn't love me, scared he'd leave, scared he'd think he'd married a fraud. I didn't know he felt the same way. He wanted to tell me the truth too. We both want to lift that weight off our chests, yet we're both afraid of what might be lurking underneath. One night he got drunk. He was slumped on the couch, eyes closed. His phone fell to the floor, screen lit. I picked it up and glanced at it. A bank notification, $3,000. Not 6 figures, $3,000. $3,000 in Beverly Hills, not even enough for a month's rent. I froze completely. I scrolled through his other messages, payment reminders, credit card bills, rent alerts. He wasn't a millionaire, he was just like me, a liar. He'd called a seized car his own, a rented house his own, borrowed money his own. I sat on the floor and looked at his face. He was asleep, a faint smile still on his lips. He didn't know I'd seen his secret. His lashes were long, in sleep he looked like a child. His hand lay loosely on the floor, fingers curled slightly. I didn't wake him. I put the phone back on the floor and went to the bed. I didn't cry, because I was lying too. I had no right. Liars don't get to judge liars. The next morning, he woke up and saw me. His eyes were puffed, his hair a mess. He rubbed his temples like his head was pounding.
Melanie, did I say anything last night?
No, you slept.
He let out a breath. His hand was trembling.
Jack.
Yeah?
If there's something you want to tell me, you can. He looked at me, silent for a long time. I saw the struggle in his eyes. He opened his mouth, then closed it.
No. There's nothing I need to say.
He chose to keep lying. I chose to keep lying too. We were like two people walking through snow. Our footprints getting deeper, but neither of us willing to turn back. Turning back meant admitting we'd gone the wrong way, and starting over was too exhausting. The third year, we started performing, not love, but wealth. He'd take me to fancy restaurants and swipe his card like it was nothing.
Is it tasty?
Yes.
I watched him cut his steak, his hand trembling, fork and knife clinging softly against the plate. He didn't look up. He couldn't meet my eyes. I took him to the mall, pretended to browse jewelry. He pretended he could afford it. My credit cards were maxed out too. My balance was hitting 0 too. We were like two drowning people, thrashing, pretending to swim. I hooked my arm through his arm was stiff, his fingers gripped mine too tight. Not affection, anxiety. He didn't know I'd want to buy any of the price tag, scared I'd say I liked something either, scared I was expect too. We were both performers, with only each other as the audience. Once, he fell asleep on the couch, phone still in his hand. His rent was due next month, his car payment was 3 days away. His company, if you could call it that, hadn't had income in 3 months. His partner had left, his employees were let out, he was holding on alone and he'd been holding on for a long time. His fingers were still wrapped around the phone, screen lit, showing the email he'd written to the bank. He'd written pleased so many times. I went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water and set it by his bed. He woke, saw it, and took a sip, his Adam Junkin Bob.
Melanie, can we move to a smaller place?
Why?
It's too big, hard to clean.
Get a cleaner.
I don't want one.
He fell silent for a moment, his fingertips tracing circles beside the glass on the table.
Melanie, are you...
Am I what?
Never mind.
He wanted to ask if I knew. He didn't dare. He was afraid I'd say yes and that after I did I'd leave him. He thought I loved his money. He didn't know I loved him, not his money. He didn't know I had no money either. We were both afraid the truth would make the other leave. So we said nothing. Silence was our last disguise. The 4th year, we started fighting, not over money but over words. He said he'd met a client. I said I'd worked the night shift. He said the client signed the deal. I said a patient had pulled through. He said let's eat out. I said I was too tired. Every word was a lie, but every one landed perfectly. Lies followed lies, seamless and airtight. Our conversations were like weaving, the shuttle passing back and forth creating a flawless cloth. But it was plastic. Didn't absorb, didn't warm.
Melanie, do you have any secrets?
I looked at him, his expression grave, not a hint of playfulness in sight. He didn't tap the table when he told the truth. This one was true.
No.
Not one?
Not one.
Neither do I.
He nodded, his hand rested on the table, fingers tapping lightly. He'd started tapping again, another lie. I knew. He knew I knew. We both understood, but we said nothing. That night we lay in bed, back to back. He turned off the light and I kept my eyes open. I stared at the ceiling. It's not that we can't afford it, it's that we simply don't want to.
His back was broad and warm, but I didn't dare lean in, because if I did, I'd soften. And if I softened, I'd want to tell the truth. And if I told the truth, he'd leave. I didn't want him to go. The crack in the darkness. I gazed at it until dawn.
The 5th year he did something I didn't expect. He started giving me gifts. Not expensive ones, small ones. A scarf, a potted plant. The pen was my favorite brand. The scarf my favorite color. The plant thing of something I'd knitted mentioned once. He'd remembered. I didn't know how I gave him in return. Maybe he caught it when I flipped through a magazine myself. It was ugly, but he said it was warm. I baked cookies. Burnt, but he ate them all. I wrote him a card. My handwriting was terrible, but he put it on the fridge. The fridge was covered. His notes, our photos. That smile was real. In the photos, we were smad women with a real white heart too. Maybe he wasn't after my money, but my feelings. But lie about feelings long enough and they can become real. I didn't want to expose him. I wanted to keep going like this. Fake but comfortable. He felt of the same. We were too wanted to keep going too. But warm, neither of us spoke. We people walking on ice, too afraid to step hard, terrified it would crack. If the ice cracked, we'd fall through. And once you fell through, we couldn't clank 'em. We could only see each other. The 6th year his business started to pick up. Not really, he just got better at pretending. He got a new car, not a rental, a borrowed one. He got a new suit, not bought, rented. His face looked better, but my took me to fansred zang because not paying knew he was holding on by I threaded. I as much Hania as whole stethoscope, signed up for a fake nursing course. I hung my license on the wall. He saw it and said, "You're amazing." I smiled. He smiled. Neither of our smiles were real. But the sound was the expression, was the teeth were.
Melanie, have you ever thought about changing careers?
To what?
Like a lawyer? Why lawyer? because you're good at arguing.
He laughed. I couldn't, because I knew he wasn't joking. He'd found something out. Maybe he'd gone through my drawers and seen my law books. Maybe he'd heard me on the phone with a client. Maybe he'd known all along and just never said it.
I'm happy with this role. Okay.
He didn't press. He didn't expose me, I didn't expose him. We kept pretending. Pretending the other didn't know, pretending we didn't know, pretending everything was fine. That night I had a dream. He was in court in a black robe and judge's wig. I was on the witness stand, holding my nurse's license. He said, "You lied." I said, "So did you." We both laughed. Laughed myself awake. 7th year, his company went under. Not really, he was just acting. He said it had been acquired, that he'd made a fortune. He took me to Hawaii. The plane tickets were fake, the hotel was fake, but the sun was real. On the beach in Hawaii, he held my hand. The water was cool, the sand warm. He bent down and kissed my forehead.
Melanie, I love you.
I love you too.
My "I love you" wasn't for a millionaire, it was for him, the fraud who rented cars and houses and maxed out credit cards. I loved him, not his money but the way he lied to me. He was afraid I wouldn't love him, so he lied. He was afraid the truth would make me leave, so he lied. His lies were fear. I was the same. I was afraid he wouldn't love me, so I lied. Afraid he'd be disappointed if he knew I wasn't in this, so I lied. Channings were all fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of being seen as less. Better wasn't real, but the better version was for the other person to see. We weren't lying to each other, we were trying to impress each other, and impressing is a form of love. The Hawaiian wind blew in salty, his shirt lifted in the breeze revealing his stomach. He had a bit of a belly, a real millionaire wouldn't. A rich man would hire a trainer, eat clean, he ate fast food, sat in hard office chair. His body was telling him he wasn't a millionaire, he wasn't listening. The 8th year, I took a case, a wealthy businessman divorcing his wife. The wife hired me. The businessman was Jack, not my Jack, another man, same last name city. His lawyer was someone in my field, we'd never met but I knew the name. In court I saw that Jack, rich, well-dressed, confident. My Jack wasn't like that. My Jack spoke softly, didn't care about brands and frowned at price tags. He wasn't a wealthy man, he was an ordinary man, and he was afraid I wouldn't love an ordinary man, so he pretended to be rich. I came home, he was on the couch watching TV. News was finger was on was drawing circles on his knee. He did that when he was nervous. Jack, do you love money?
What?
Do you love money?
He blinked.
Yes,
Why?
because money makes you happy.
I don't need money to be happy.
You do. You need it for clothes, food, a good home. You need it to survive.
I don't need a lot of money. I need you.
His hand stopped, his eyes went red, his finger paused on his knee, then started drawing again, slow.
Melanie, I'm not rich.
I know.
His hand started to shake. He dropped his head, his chin almost touching his chest. A long time.
Why didn't you leave?
Because I've been lying to you too. He froze.
My car is leased, my house is rented, my company is fake. I ran out of money long ago. I'm drowning in debt.
I know. He lifted his head and looked at me, his eyes swimming with tears.
How long have you known?
That night, we told the truth for the first time. He told me he'd been a programmer, quit to start a company, and it failed. He didn't want me to know, so he pretended to be rich. He borrowed from loan sharks, rented a house and car, hired actors to play clowning anymore. But the OFAM million, and the house was about to be repossessed. I'd spent all that time, and I was too afraid to let him see it because I was scared he'd love lawyer, the woman who could earn money, not me. I was afraid he'd think my job was more respectable than his, afraid it would make him feel small. Already felt small. I laughed, we cried, we held each other. We had no money, but we had honesty, and honesty lifted the weight, and without the weight we could cry. His tears fell on my shoulder, mine fell on the back of his hand. That was the first time I felt like we were really embracing. Not acting, real. His heart was racing, and so was mine. Our bodies were speaking the truth.
Melanie, do you hate me?
No. You?
Neither do I.
Then let's get a divorce. He looked into my eyes. No surprise, no anger, no reluctance, just something I couldn't name, maybe relief. Maybe it was that he finally didn't have to perform anymore. 8 years of acting. Exhausting. Anyone would be tired.
Okay.
His hands were shaking, his voice was shaking. He said it all without looking at me. He stared at the crack in the ceiling, the one that had been there for years. I used to work as a legal professional, not a care worker. I adjust how I presented myself because I'd seen too many people fixate on a job title first. Like the idea of the role. It had to be years. So ordinary that if someone cared about me, not sleeping till midnight. I asked for the divorce, not because I didn't love him, because I was too tired. 8 years of pretending, exhausting. Tired people need rest. Rest means beats under separation. Separation means no more acting. No more acting. We can finally breathe. My assistant, Sophia. There were no assets, no debt, no children, just 2 liars and a pile of lies.
Sophia looked at the agreement and frowned. Her glasses were perched on her nose, the lenses catching the light.
Melanie, are you both sure?
Yes.
No mediation?
No. Jack sat beside me, silent. His finger was drawing circles on his knee, didn't stop. When he drew circles, his lips moved slightly, counting them. He did that when he was nervous. I'd seen it many times. On the day we signed, we sat on the courthouse steps for a while. The wind was strong, tussling, and handed at his hair.
This is all I have left. Not much, but enough for you to rent a place.
What about you?
I still have a job. Programming. A real job, not fake.
You found a job?
Yeah, last month.
Why didn't you tell me?
Afraid you'd say no.
I took the card and put it in my pocket, thin, light, but warm, his palm warmth. He'd held it for so long it was sweaty. He gave me that too. The divorce went fast. No asset disputes, no custody battles, no lawyer drama. In and out in half an hour. The judge asked, "Are you sure?" And we said yes.
Any issues with asset?
No.
The judge look us. She child custody, s'more.
No children.
Soft, like knock on a door. Walk out of the courthouse. The sun was bright. He stood on the steps and I stood beside him. There was a person's width between us, close enough to see each other's profile, but not each other's eyes. His profile was still handsome, but gotten thinner, much thinner than when we married.
What are you gonna do now?
Keep being a lawyer.
I'll keep being a programmer.
Yeah.
He paused, hands in his pockets. His shoulders were broad, but hunched. Cold? Maybe the wind. Maybe there was no one beside him to keep warm.
Do you hate me?
No.
Then why did you divorce me?
Because I didn't want to lie to you anymore.
He lowered his head. A long silence. Someone walked by on the street below, footsteps light.
Me too.
The first month after the divorce, I moved to a small apartment downtown, 1 living room, a tiny kitchen, but enough. The street outside was noisy, but I got used to it. I brought the pavos with me and put it on the windowsill. It didn't need me to talk to it. Its leaves were a little wint. I watered it and 2 days later it perked up. It was stronger than people. When people wilt, it takes much longer to come back. Jack, ex-husband. He lived a few blocks away. Not because we chose to be close, it was cheap.
Enough.
I knew it wasn't. But he stopped saying it and I stopped asking. We'd talk on the phone sometimes, not about feelings, about debt. He hadn't paid it all off and I didn't have enough either. We'd figure out how to scrape together money, how to pay, how to survive. No romance, just numbers. Numbers were more real than romance. Romance can lie, numbers don't. A single number can be fake, but a whole column of them can't. The $500,000 he owed was real.
Melanie, I can pay $5,000 next month.
Good.
What about you?
5,000 too. Still 400,000 left.
1 year isn't enough, then 2. 2 isn't enough, then 5.
He was quiet for a moment.
Will you wait for me?
I froze. Wait? For what? For him to pay it off? For us to remarry? For us to stop lying to each other? I didn't know. I didn't answer. He didn't push. The second month he found a side job fixing computers, evenings, weekends. He was good at it, fast, cheap. More clients came, his income grew. He split his part money 3 ways, debt, living, much, but he was saving. His bank book was a thin little notebook, the numbers small, but he wrote them carefully. Every time he saved he'd text me, saved $500 this month. $500, not enough for a good piece of clothing. But he'd saved it himself, cutting back everywhere, and whatever was left he saved. He didn't know when he'd need it, but he saved it. I helped him find clients. My clients had money. When their computers broke, they didn't fix them, they bought new ones. But they had old ones, and old ones could be fixed. I sent them to Jack, he was cheap. I didn't know if I was helping him or helping them. Maybe both. A little help on the side, easy. Once, he went to a client's house. An old woman in her 70s lived alone. Her computer broke, she couldn't video chat with her grandson, she cried. "You're better than my son."
That night, he called me.
Melanie, I fixed an old lady's computer today. She cried.
And then?
And then I cried.
Why?
Because she misses her son. So do I.
I didn't ask where's home.
Who do you miss?
Home was on the other end of the line.
Home.
His voice was thick with tears. He was crying, his voice shaking. I held the phone and didn't hang up. The silence on the line stretched long, but I knew he was listening. So was I. I received a court summons, not from a client, from my ex-husband. He was suing me for conceal my true profession, not during the divorce, after. He claimed that during our marriage I hid the fact that I was a lawyer, which caused him to make incorrect decisions about how to reopen the division. I froze. What assets? He was in debt, I was in debt, our joint net worth was negative. What was he trying to divide? Debt? He wanted to give me half of it? The debt was his, not mine, but I was willing to take half, not because of the law, but because of love. I called Jack.
You're suing me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm taking your share of the debt. You don't have to pay it anymore.
I froze. The sun outside shone on the summons, white paper, black ink, his signature at the bottom, pressed hard.
I don't want your money. I'll pay your debt.
You can't afford it.
Yes, I can.
You can't.
He hung up. I stood by the window, phone in hand, for a long time. Outside, someone was walking a dog, a red leash. The dog ran fast, pulling the person along. Both of them were pantsing. I didn't know who was walking who. On the day of the hearing, we sat in court. He was the plaintiff, I was the defendant. His lawyer was a young woman who talked fast. My lawyer was Sophia. She looked at me with a complicated expression. The courtroom lights were bright, fluorescent, chatty, draining all color from faces. The suit was wrinkled. He hadn't ironed it. He'd lost weight, and it hung on him loose.
Why do you want to reopen asset division?
Because she concealed her true profession during the marriage, which led me to misjudge her income. I thought she was a nurse, earning less, so I took on the debt myself. But she's actually a lawyer. She makes much more than a nurse. She should take half.
The judge looked at Wei. Your Honor, I'm willing to take half. The judge frowned.
He's suing you just to make you take half? He could have discussed it with you directly.
He did. I said no. So he sued. The judge looked at Jack.
Why are you suing? You could have resolved this privately.
Jack looked up. His eyes were bright, not happy, determined.
Because I won't accept it. I don't need her to pay for me. The debt is mine. I'll pay it myself. The lawsuit is to get her to sign acknowledging she has no obligation to pay it. Once she signs, I'll drop it.
Your ex-spouses?
Yes.
Now that you've separated, do you still need to interfere in each other's affairs?
Yes.
The judge looked at us and didn't spoke. The courtroom was extremely quiet. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling on him. The collar was slightly yellow from too many washes. The judge called a recess. He told us to settle privately. We sat on the courthouse bench in the hallway, one seat between us. The hallway was quiet, just our breathing. His breath was light, like he was afraid of startling someone.
Melanie, sign it.
No.
Then I won't drop the suit.
Then I won't sign. He lowered his head, his finger drawing circles on his knee.
Why do you insist on paying my debt?
Because I loved you.
Loved?
Love.
He looked up, his eyes were red. I met his eyes, didn't look away. There were red veins in his eyes from staying up late. Was he still fixing computers on the side? Still paying off debt? Still saving that 500?
I love you too.
Then why did we divorce?
Because we were too tired.
He nodded. His finger stopped. His hand lay on his knee, palm up, like he was waiting for something.
Melanie, can we start over?
How?
Without lies.
Can we?
Let's try.
I reached out, he reached out. We shook hands in the courthouse hallway, not husband and wife, not friends, partners. Partners in not lying. His hand was warm just like 10 years ago. His palm had thinned in calloused fixing computers. Not soft hands from before. The old him was fake. This one was real. Real hands, real calors, real warmth. I held his hand and didn't let go. We dropped the suit, not him, me. I signed. I agreed not to pay his debt. He wrote in the agreement, Melanie Chen Benzapet at our ability, leaving deep grooves on the page. He wrote it himself, his handwriting neat. He pressed hard as he wrote, feeling his handwriting, the trace of his hand. Like a vow written in paper. I signed. Sophia looked at me and asked, "Are you sure?" I said yes. She put the agreement away in a folder. Jack stood and walked to the door. His steps were slow, like he was hesitating.
Melanie, are you free tonight?
Yes.
Want to have dinner together?
Sure. We went to a small restaurant nearby and ordered 2 bowls of noodles. They were hot. He ate fast. After finishing, he wiped his mouth.
Melanie, let's remarry.
No,
Why?
because it's not over yet.
What's not over?
The debt between us.
He looked at me silent. His eyes held a question like he was asking what debt. I didn't say. Some debts aren't money, they're time. We owed each other 10 years. 10 years of lies. A debt of time has to be paid with time. We didn't remarry, but we started acting like a couple again. Eating together, shopping, watching movies. When we watched movies, he'd hold my hand. I didn't pull away. His hand was warm, just like 10 years ago. Real head callus, real callusers, real warmth. I held his hand and didn't let go.
Melanie, do you remember our first movie?
Yes.
What was it?
You forgot?
I forgot.
He was lying. He remembered. He remembered everything, the movie title, our seat numbers, the way I ate popcorn. He didn't say it because he was shy. He was afraid I'd laugh at him. I wouldn't have. We'd watched Love of Actually, released at Christmas. He'd bought 2 pick from a stubble the price. He didn't know. I'd seen the price on the stub. I didn't say, and he didn't say.
I don't remember either.
Then I don't either.
Neither of us was lying. We were both pretending not to remember. Pretending because remembering was too clear. Too clear to say out loud without it hurting. He paid off his debt, not to the bank, to the loan sharks. The interest had been brutal. He'd been paying for years, already paid twice the interest.
I'll take my time.
Just lent you the money.
No.
This is a type of investment.
Investment in what?
Invest in your future exclusive company that you will establish. He laughed.
I don't have a company.
You will.
You believe in me?
Yes.
He looked down. His finger drawing circles on his knee.
Why do you believe in me?
Because you never give up. So much debt, so many years, and you didn't run, didn't hide. You're a liar, but an honest liar. He lifted his head, his eyes were bright. He smiled, brief, but real.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He paid off his debt, not to the bank, to the loan sharks. The interest had been brutal. He'd been paying for years, already paid twice the interest. The principal still wasn't
Take my
fully
time.
cleared. I
No.
will help. Just lent you the money.
No.
This is a type of investment.
Investment in what?
Invest in your future exclusive company that you will establish. He laughed.
I don't have a company.
I took a case, a divorce, a wealthy one. The client was a woman whose husband had cheated. She wanted half. Her lawyer wasn't me, someone else. She said she wanted my advice. I gave it. For free.
You divorced. Do you regret it?
I blinked. Regret? I'd never thought about it. I didn't regret it during the divorce, or after. Now that I was being asked, I thought about it seriously.
No. Why?
Because divorce showed me who I really am, and who he really is. We didn't have money, but we had honesty. Honesty is more valuable than money. After she left, I sat in my office and looked out at the sky. Blue, cloudless. The sky had been blue on the day of the divorce too. I stood at the courthouse steps, the sun bright. He was beside me, a person's width between us. Back then, I didn't think about regret. Now that I have, I still don't. Divorce was right. Remarriage is right too. The right things don't need regret. Jack's company, no, his new one. He registered a new name, Harrison Tech. Not fake, real. He took orders online, developing software for people. Not many clients, but steady income. He split his income 3 ways: debt, living, investment. He didn't touch the investment part. He said once it's enough, I'll start a real company. His eyes were bright, the kind of brightness that sees the future. I'd never seen that before. Before his eyes were gray, evasive, afraid to meet anyone's gaze. Now he could look. He could look at me, at others, at the whole world. When he got his first big contract, he was so excited he called me, his voice shaking.
Melanie, I landed a $50,000 project.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
For what?
For not giving up on me.
I didn't give up on him, not because I was great but because I hadn't given up on myself either. We were both drowning, both struggling. He grabbed my hand and I grabbed his. Neither of us let go. If we had, we'd have sunk. We started talking about remarrying, not impulsively, but slowly. We talked for a long time, many times. We talked in cafes, in parks, on the phone, about our past, our present, our future. He turned the cup, dropples sliding down, dripping onto the table.
Melanie, will you marry me again?
Not will, but on one condition.
What condition?
First, a prenup. No lying about money. Your money is yours, mine is mine.
Okay.
Second, same building, different rooms. You have your space, I have mine.
Okay.
Third, no lies. He looked to my eyes, didn't flinch.
Okay.
His voice was soft but firm, no hesitation, no circles. He was telling the truth. We remarried, not renewing the old, starting a new one. The first marriage was fake. This one was real. We signed a prenup, assets clearly divided. His money was his, mine was mine. He lived upstairs, I lived downstairs. Same roof, different rooms. He knocked. I opened. He said goodnight. I said goodnight, not acting, real. He really said it, I really said it back. A floor between our doors, but sound carried through. I could hear his footsteps. He could hear my snoring. We weren't eavesdropping, we were keeping company. Company doesn't require the same room, just being close. Close enough to feel the warmth. He moved his things stairs, not much, a suitcase, a cardboard box. Clothes in the suitcase, books and computer in the box. As he moved them, I heard the sounds from the stairs. His footsteps, step by step, door slowly listening. I didn't go out, he didn't call me. We didn't have kids, not couldn't, didn't want to. Our first half was spent lying, we didn't want to lie to a child in the second, we needed to learn honesty first.
What's for dinner?
Honestly living under the same roof, honestly saying what's for dinner, honestly saying your socks are on my side, honestly saying I love you. Not just the words, but the I being real, the love being real, the you real. One night, he came downstairs and knocked on my door holding a glass of warm milk. He handed me the milk, didn't come in.
Thanks.
He stood in the doorway looking at my face, my hair undone, uncombed. My pajamas were old, piling, my slippers were from the grocery store, $9.99. He looked, didn't laugh.
Melanie, you've gotten older.
So have you.
Still good looking, though.
He left. I stood in the doorway with the milk, hot, the cup warm. The steam fogged my glasses. I couldn't see his back clearly, but I knew he was going upstairs, his footsteps step by step, here to it anymore. I closed the door and set the milk on the nightstand. Dropples slid down the cup. I wiped my glasses and took a sip, so hot my tongue went numb, but I didn't spit it out. I learned to cook. I hadn't before, because I didn't want to. For one person it was always too much or too little. Now with two, extra gets eaten, too little leaves someone hungry. Hika's noodles were like paste, his vegetables like pickles. I ate them and said good. He said liar. I said really. He said you're lying. I laughed. He laughed. We laughed until tears came, not from sadness, from joy. Joy that someone spoke the truth, joy that someone believed it.
Melanie, that scarf you knitted me, was it real?
It was real.
You didn't lie?
No, I really knitted it, though it's ugly.
It's not ugly.
He found the scarf and wrapped it around his neck, piled, frayed at the edges. But he put it on carefully, tucking in the loose threads, picking off the pots. He looked in the mirror.
Looks good.
Liar.
Really?
You're lying.
He didn't deny it again. He smiled, looking at me. I looked at his smile, it was real. 10 years of fake smiles, finally turning real. Crow's teeth at the corners of his eyes, from laughing. Fake smiles don't leave crow's teeth. Those lines were real. I started taking more cases, not for the money, for him. He needed startup capital for his company. My savings weren't much, but enough. I transferred him some money. He didn't take it.
Melanie, I don't want your money.
Not a gift, a loan. You'll pay it back.
I don't want it.
Then invest it for me. If you make profit, split it. If you lose, it's on me. He looked at me, silence for a long time.
You trust me?
Yes.
You're not afraid I'll lie?
You can't lie to me.
Why?
Because I'm a lawyer. If you lie, I'll sue you.
He laughed. His eyes got wet. He wiped them.
Melanie, when did you get so sharp?
Learned from you.
He took the money, not much, enough for 3 months' rent. His office was on west side, a room window facing a wall, no sunlight, but he was happy. Sent me his new company name on the window, printed paper, letters crooked. He said looks good. I said no it doesn't. He said really? I said you're lying. He laughed and didn't deny it. His company opened not in an office building, in his apartment. His living room was the office, his dining table the conference table. He was the only employee. No money to hire, so he wrote code himself, pitched clients himself, delivered delivery was code. He packaged it up, sent it to clients, they approved it, paid him. Not much money, but enough. He saved, and when he had enough he hired his first person. Not a programmer, a receptionist. A recent grad, low salary. She sat in the corner of the living room answering phones, printing contracts, and he saw it. Just the window sat applies, just the one on my window. He'd ask. I knew he knew that I'd given it to her. I didn't say and he didn't say, but he wanted it to be. Now he was. He really was. His company got a second employee, then a third, a fourth. He moved out of the apartment and rented a real office. His office was downtown, not big, but enough. His employees were young, looking at him once Bidmer fraud. They didn't know what Nellie Meyer knew. I was his wife and his witness to his transformation from liar to honest man. Honesty isn't never lying to others, it's never lying to yourself. One day he invited me to see his office. I went. He showed me his desk, his meeting room, his break room. There was a coffee machine. He'd bought it. He made me a cup, 78 degrees.
Melanie, do you know why I bought this coffee machine?
No.
Because you love coffee.
How did you know?
You used to drink it every morning. You thought it was instant, so did I. Was brewing it. Every morning before you woke up, I'd brew it and leave it on the table. You thought I'd bought it.
Tears fell from my eyes.
We had no money back then.
I know. Where did you get the coffee machine?
Borrowed it from a neighbor. He didn't use it, so I borrowed it.
I looked at him, he looked at me, his eyes wet, mine wet, we cried, holding each other. His chin rested on the top of my head, my tears soaking his shirt. His shirt was wrinkled, he hadn't ironed it, he didn't care. His desk still had the crooked printed letters. His company was downtown, but he was still him. The man who borrowed a coffee machine to make me coffee. He never changed. What changed was that he'd stopped lying. He asked why I kept that photo, and I answered because the smiles were real. We said goodnight to each other before he left. We planned our future. He would invest money and I offered professional tech and management support. He hoped to cancel the meal punishment. I disagreed and pointed out lied about losing weight. He saw me crying and asked what's wrong. I told him nothing, I'm just happy. He thanked me on stage and invited me up, but I turned him down and replied you're welcome. He told me every word he said was true and asked if I believed him. I said yes and I knew it all along. He kissed my forehead gently after ringing without a single word. I read his handwritten letter married again. This time, it's not a fake. After that, he put the ring on me.
Melanie, I paid it all.
I congratulated him. He thanked me and I replied you're welcome.
Melanie, I want to see you.
He asked to remarry me. I refused. He wondered why and I told him because we're not done yet. He asked what's not done and I reminded him of our promise that he promised not to lie and asked if he kept it. He admitted he kept the promise. I said me too. Then we told each other Melanie, I love you and I love you too. We held each other quietly without any words. He moved all his luggage to the apartment next to mine. He said my hair was longer and pretty, and I said thanks to him. He wanted to come inside for a while and I let him in.